Welcome to Dr. Jester Rants, and I'm gonna rant about this. From Bound into Comics, J.K. Rowling reveals her address was doxed, says it will not stop her from speaking up for women's sex-based rights. Well, this is what happens when you decided to actually go and virtual signal about your books, and then you do a Rowling on two of your characters. One of those being the, I don't remember the guy, the head of the Hogwarts thingy. Don't judge me, I'm not a Harry Potter fan. And then you virtual signal and says that Hermione could be actually black, when in fact you actually wrote her as white. That's why we call it the Rowling system, or the Rowling action, or pulling a Rowling. When you need to virtual signal, now you're reaping what you have sown on that regard, because you decided to virtual signal for a crowd that usually doesn't respect the dissension. But either way, even though I say you reap what you have sown, I don't think she actually deserve what is happening to her. Either way, she's absolutely right in the regard that women definitely needs, for instance, in sports in which she actually have already shown explanation about it. I don't recall if she actually was direct or not. It's my opinion, allegedly, perhaps, maybe. On that regard, either way, in which she alleges, or perhaps says, that, for instance, transgender women should not be playing on female sports. And I have to actually agree, because males are definitely stronger. And even after you go through transition, and there have been research through that, it shows quite clearly that you're still replaying your advantages as a male. Obviously, not the same as a full-blown male, but you still have an advantage over the females. Obviously, not as great as being a full-blown male, but you still have an advantage. For instance, your bones are bigger. You still have the muscles you developed when you were a teenager and went through puberty. You still have that extra bone protrusions like the one you have on your hook. The hook you have on your skull, right at the bottom. You also have many of those things. And it's not something that will disappear just by switching hormones. You could be weaker in comparison to an actual male, but you're still stronger than a woman by itself. And that's something that the Olympic Committee needs to address. They need to either to create their own, their own section for transgender women. Hey, on that regard, you could actually allow more transgender women on sports by actually creating its own category. Yeah, because now you could have one transgender woman from one country, one transgender for the other, and female representation and male representation. You get triple stuff. Isn't that something that you should strive for? More representation instead of actually putting them in the same sports and taking out the dreams of a girl who wants to go to the Olympics, but she can't beat the the transgender woman. Yeah, but either way, let's go. I digress. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling took to Twitter to reveal her home address was doxing what she believes is an attempt to intimidate her. However, Rowling defiantly stated that the effort would not stop her from speaking up for women's sex-based rights. Rowling took to Twitter, where she wrote, "Last Friday, my family's address was posted on Twitter by 3 activist actors who took pictures of themselves in front of our house, carefully positioning themselves to ensure that our address was visible." Yeah, well, that's definitely one of the tactics that these people actually use. They don't care about you. They are definitely part of the woke Inquisition. And as you all know, considering you're British, you pretty much should know that, albeit you don't expect the Spanish Inquisition, you should expect the woke Inquisition. I want to say, here is what she says. I want to say, quote, "I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who reported the images to Twitter support, your kindness and decency have made all the difference to my family and me. I would also like to thank Police Scotland for their support and assistance in this matter. Quote, I implore those who have retweeted the image with the address still visible, and if they did so in combination of these Jesus Christ, English, people's actions, to delete it. Quote, over the last few years I've watched appalled as women like Alison Bailey, Raquel Sanchez, Marion Miller, Rosie Duffy, Joanna many names, among many others, including women who have no public profile, quote, but who have contacted me to relate their experiences have been subject to campaigns of intimidation which range from being hounded on social media, the targeting of their employers, all the way up to doxing and direct threats of violence, including the no thing. Quote, none of these women are protected in the way I am. They and their families have been put into a state of fear and distress for no other reason than that they refuse to uncritically accept that the social political concept of gender identity should replace that of sex. Right, continuing. Quote, I have to assume that I'm Georgia Frost and Holly W. Stars and Richard Energy thought doxing me would intimidate me out of speaking up for women's sex-based rights. They should have reflected on that fact. Continuing here, and quote, I've now received so many death threats I could paper the house with them, and I haven't stopped speaking out. Perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out there, the best way to prove your movement isn't a threat to women is to stop stalking, harassing and threatening us. She is absolutely right on that regard. I think these people are definitely acting very violently, and it's not helping their movement. The support for the alphabet has been decreasing as of late due to the massive push by these people acting like barbarians and things like that, like violently. They're acting like brown shirts, they're acting like the communists, they're acting like the Gestapo and things like that. Unfortunately, they don't seem to realize that this is actually costing them support. Well, what can you do? Right. On that hellish hell, have a great fucking night.